Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Thursday.
Yeah, somebody sent me a text this morning. Thankful Thursday.
Just admitting people here. Give us a minute.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to add my actual name. Okay. We're going to wait half a second because I've just admitted people so that they can connect. Oh, wow. Everybody's joining me. Admit. Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, depending on where in the country you are. Thank you for joining us. Happy Thursday. So I am Kendra Rhodes, and this is our weekly Thursday training. So I've noticed of late that we start getting moving later and later. So I want to be mindful of everybody's time. Hi, Tim. Nice to see you. I want to be mindful of everybody's time and really start pulling that back so that we're getting started at 12 so that we can finish at 1 Eastern Standard Time. Adjust that for whatever time zone you're in. I will be available after that if people still have questions, but I want to be mindful of people's time and make sure that when I say that the training is going to be an hour, that it will. So we're going to starting on time going forward. So to start with, does anybody have any questions lingering from last week? Because I know I was unavailable for questions last week. And also, please be mindful of background noise. I always love for people to participate and jump in if you have questions, but please be mindful of background noise. So does anybody have any questions to start with?
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Sam. Sam, is it Sam or Samuel?
Sam.
Hi,
Yeah.
Sam.
How you doing? Okay, so here's what the deal is. I have a full-time day job to get back to my day job before my boss gets upset. So I've gone through all of the trainings for Life Plan 360. I'm finally getting appointments. I have appointment today at 3 o'clock, and I've got like 2 or 3 next week. And I just want to know if there's someone I can contact if I have questions. I've got the software, I'm ready to go, but like I said, I'm new. This is like first time. So I just want to know if there's somebody I could contact, like, after a client meeting or something, and I wasn't sure. That's all.
That would be me.
Right
I'm
now.
putting my email in the chat. carrots@icanfinancial.com. Oh, that was to, hold on one second. To everyone in meeting, let me try that again. 1 second. At icanfinancial. If I could type, that would be great. 1 second. kroads@icanfinancial.com. Feel free to email me if you have questions. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If anybody has yes, exactly, Sam, good for you. Don't get caught doing this at work. But yeah, if anybody has any clients that they would like me to sit down with, I do a 60-40 split on any business that comes out of that meeting, but the client is still yours. If you just need advice, direction, etc., I'm happy to answer any questions. Feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Thank you, Kendra. Thank you.
Does that help you?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, great. So today I wanted to talk about the difference between consultancy and agency. So how many of us are agents? Anybody? Jump in, raise your hand. Good. I'm glad you're coming with me on that. So oh, we've got one agent. Okay, great. So when you introduce yourself, do you guys say that you are an agent? How do you introduce yourself to people in general? Anybody? Don't all jump in at once. Dad, feel free to jump in.
What I do is I tell people that I am licensed by the Commonwealth as an insurance agent, but I'm actually a financial educator.
Okay. That is actually a great place to start. However, I find that as soon as people hear the words insurance or agent, they hear, oh my God, this person is going to try and sell me insurance. I need to get out of this conversation as quickly as possible. And you've lost them. They've glassed over. So honestly, my goal is to get all of you to a place where you guys are independent. So I mentioned that 60-40 split, if I sit down with your clients, and that's great. You make money, I make money, it's all good. But really, I want to get you guys to a place where all of you are independent and you can sit down with your own clients and close these sales. And it's not just about the sale. I want to get you guys to a place where you feel comfortable introducing yourselves as a financial consultant, not as an agent. Does anybody know why I say that you want to be a consultant as opposed to an agent? Anybody? Am I alone in the room? Let me just admit some people. Okay. I see we're not in a participatory mood this morning. So agents sell something. Yes. Oh, and if anybody is posting in the chat and I'm not responding to you, please feel free to jump in because I just realized that a couple people have. So Tim, I say I'm a representative from ICANN Financial and I represent about 20 different companies. Agents sell something because we talk about a lot more than life insurance. Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. And this very well could be a semantic difference. So Richard says, as a consultant, we are solving problems using insurance as a tool to solve that problem. Thank you. Richard gets a gold star today. So it very well may be a semantic difference, but it's a very important semantic difference because it says a lot about our mindset. Consultants are solving problems. Agents sell. And it is very, very simple. And we hear all the time to, just fall back on the ABCs, always be closing. And yes, we need to always be closing because that's how we make money. However, if we're following in that always be closing mindset, that is our mindset. We are closing. And I don't know if anybody on this call, but several people from our little group come from a background of quick sales, whether that is car sales or final expense sales. It's a quick sale mindset that we always need to be getting that next sale, that as a salesperson, you're only as good as your next sale. And as a salesperson, that's true, that you are only as good as your next sale, which is why it's very important that we don't think of ourselves as salespeople. We're not just agents. We are consultants. We are financial consultants. Our job, and this is how I introduce myself and what I do. Hi, I'm Kendra Rhodes. I'm a financial consultant. And nobody knows what that means. So they'll say, really, what does that mean exactly? So my job is to take the holistic approach to finance. I take the time to get to know my clients, what their needs are, what their wants are, what their long-term goals are, figure out where they are financially. And together we build a holistic and realistic roadmap for you to get what you want, whether that is sending your kids to college, whether that is getting out of debt and paying off those student loans, whether you're looking to buy your first house or a retirement home or an investment property or a new car, whatever it is that you want, I'm going to take the time to figure out what it is that you want, where you are, and together we're going to build you a plan to get there. And that is the difference between being an agent and being a consultant. So as a consultant, how are we making money? We're not, right? Because we're going to deal with a lot of clients that we are going to solve a lot of problems for, and we are not going to be able to sell them anything, right? Anybody? Has anybody been in this situation where you put a lot of time into teaching someone and then you find out that they are not in a position to build a plan yet?
Yes, you have to qualify them first.
Right. You have to qualify them first, which is why we need to get to a point where we can really be comfortable as financial consultants. Because can anybody tell me, can anybody give me an example of a different type of consultant that you might go see?
A physician?
A physician, a lawyer, an accountant, right? All of these people, you're getting them to consult about something. You have a problem and you want a solution, so you're going to see a consultant. So when you go to a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, whatever, what have you, are you going to pay that person for a product or for time? Or both?
You pay them up front for their consultancy, and you may need to pay them if they use a product.
Exactly. So we're buying their time, right? So this is where I would like to see all of us on this call get to a point where we are having people pay us for our time, for our knowledge. So I like the mechanic example. So all of us have been to a mechanic in some point in our lives, right? Everybody?
Yes.
Okay. And you hear a noise in your car and you take it in, and you have no idea what it is, and they tell you, oh, it's this, and it takes them a half an hour to fix it, and then it costs you $500. Sound familiar? Anybody?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Anybody had this experience? Okay, great.
Yes.
So we have just paid them $500 for half hour of their time, right? Is this true?
Yes.
All the time.
It's only half true. We're not paying them $500 for 30 minutes of their time to fix it. We are paying them $500 for their knowledge. We're paying them for all of the time it took them to learn how to fix it in 30 minutes. So this is the same with doctors. If we didn't have insurance, anytime we go to see a lawyer, I don't believe there's insurance for that. You're paying them a lot of money. It's several $100s an hour to even consult a lawyer about an issue that they may or may not be able to solve for you. So also parts on modern cars are very expensive. Yes, this is true. But the point is that we are being relegated to a realm where people only get paid for making sales because we are salespeople. But what I do, what I've been training people to do the last several months now, weekly, and what I really need to get you guys to think of yourselves as is consultants. How many people here have done a budget evaluation for a client? Anybody?
Yes.
Yep. How many people here have showed a client how they could rearrange their finances to actually afford to pay for their kid to go to college?
Yes.
Anybody?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely.
How many people have done a retirement review for a client?
Yes.
Yes.
How many people here have not gotten paid for any of those things?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
These are all saleable products, guys. All of them. Not everybody knows how to do this. This is something that if a client wants to sit down with you and have you review their entire life, provide them with the financial education that they need. How many people here know the difference between APR and yield?
Yes.
Most people don't. I've heard other consultants tell me that they've actually had clients throw something when they've proved to a client that they're not actually making the 8% that their advisor told them that they were making. It's perfectly legal for the advisor to tell them that they are making 8% APR because they are. But APR is not yield, and yield is what actually matters to the client. So these are all things that it has taken us time to learn. So just like that mechanic that spent 30 minutes fixing your car and you shelled out $500 to get them to fix it. Yes, APR is usually associated with credit cards, but it is also associated with investment accounts because it's the average annual percentage return as well. So when your account is growing, your annual percentage return is the APR that is theoretically applied to your account. So Tim, were you on the call last week? I think I went over it last week. Yes. Okay. So the two columns where you've got the $100,000 and you gain 100% and then you lose 50% and then you gain 100% and you lose 50% over 4 years, that is an APR of 25% over that window of time, which is 4 years, but your actual yield is 0. So yes, where was I going with this? So these are all things that we can explain to clients. This is financial education that they need. You know, people have heard of the FDIC. They don't know what that is. They don't know how it applies to them. People think that if they have money in a bank, that it is secured by the FDIC. What they don't know is that only $250,000 is secured, which for, depending on where people live, a lot of people don't have more than $250,000 in the bank, but a lot of people do. And they still don't know that only $250,000 of it per bank is secured. Anything over that is theoretically at risk of loss. So these are all things that we can teach our clients. So, you know, when we're talking about consultancy versus agency, we need to, so all of us have a fiduciary responsibility to do what is in the best interest of our clients. This ringing any bells for anybody? Has anybody heard this before? Yes, no, maybe? Yeah, okay. So we've all heard this before, that we have a fiduciary responsibility to do what is in the financial best interest of our clients. Has anyone heard this before? That if you have a financial incentive for someone to make a certain choice, that it is not actually possible for you to think only of the financial best interest of someone else.
Makes sense.
Exactly, because we have a financial incentive for someone else to make a certain choice. So, for example, you have a client who's retiring in 11 years, and you have 2 products that you can show them. One of them is a 14-year product. The other one is a 10-year product. And both products will provide income, but only after the term has expired. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. They both provide income, but only after the term has expired. 14-year product and a 10-year product, and the client is retiring in 11 years. So we all know that a 14-year product has a higher commission rate than a 10-year product, right? We all know this. So can anybody tell me which product they would show the client and why?
10 years, the only one
10
that
years.
is suitable for the client.
The 10 years is the only one that's suitable. Okay, great. So which one is in your financial best interest as the consultant to show the client?
14-year.
Why?
Because I'm putting more money in my pocket
Right now.
where they're gonna lose. So it's not to their benefit, but it's my benefit.
Can I prove to you that it's actually in your financial best interest to show them the 10-year product?
Yes,
Okay.
please do.
So, and this is another mindset issue because we are financial consultants, right? We're not agents. Agents sell. Agents are looking for the immediate close. They need a commission tomorrow. Consultants are playing the long game. Consultants are doing what is in the financial best interest of their client at all times, and in return, that is in our own financial best interest. So, guys, just a reminder, please mind your background noise. So when you are showing that client the 10-year product, and both products have guarantees, and you can say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Client, in 10 years, you are going to have the availability of this much income every year. Okay. On the 14-year product, you were going to make a $10,000 commission. On the 10-year product, you're only going to make a $7,000 commission. So they say, great. We really like this plan that you've laid out for us because it takes into account our Social Security, the money that we've saved, how we're redirecting our cash flow so that we know exactly how we are meeting our financial obligations in retirement forever. And in year 11, when we retire, we can tap into this account that you're setting up for us, and it's going to be great. Okay, so that's client A. Client B, you showed them the 14-year product, and you show them the 14-year product, and they're buying into it, and they're, it has a great, sorry, just let me admit people for a second. It has a great yield, it'll give them a great return in year 14, but now they have to figure out how to fill years 11, 12, and 13 after they retire, or they have to keep working for an extra 3 years. So they're a little leery. Is client A going to send you other clients?
Yes,
Is client B going to send you other clients?
probably not.
And there's the difference. So playing the long game, we make a slightly less percentage commission today, but client A is going to send you their kids, their neighbors, their friends, and you no longer have to pay for leads because you have clients who are sending you clients. It's all about referrals. Whereas with client B, you made a higher commission today, but you're still lead dependent because they're not sure that they want to send their friends, their neighbors, their kids.
Comment?
Yes.
The only way I would show the 14 would be to say, that if you want to, if you don't need all the money in years 10, 11 through 13, let's do a 10-year that for part of the money, and let's do a 14-year that kicks in at year 14 and gives you additional money because of the yield. But I would never
like
show
how you
only
think.
one.
I like how you think. Honestly, that is something I do with a number of clients when I'm dealing with retirement planning for somebody who is approaching retirement now. I bring up like charts and spreadsheets to show them, okay, so you have this much in assets to start with. And I'm just going to bring up a whiteboard. Share screen. Do I have a whiteboard in here? Great. Share. Okay. So let's say our client has, yeah, we'll just scratch that out. Okay. Let's say our client has, you know what? Hold on. I'm grabbing my other whiteboard. How do I stop sharing? Stop share. Bear with me 1 second. I'm having technical difficulties because it's not.
We all.
Okay. Is it still sharing? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to bring up my actual whiteboard because that one I know how to use. Microsoft Whiteboard. Okay, so bring up new whiteboard. Awesome. Bear with me. Share screen 1, share. Okay, so our client has $1 million, right? One, two, three, four, 5, 6. Okay. And we know that they need, let's say, $50,000 a year of income. So first thing I would do is look up what their Social Security is going to be. And I always round down. So we're going to say that Social Security is going to give them, let's say, $20,000 a year. You're still seeing the first whiteboard? 1 second. It should have shared my screen, not the whiteboard. Share screen 1, share. Can everybody see this whiteboard with terrible handwriting on it? Okay.
Yes.
So $20,000. 20,000, yeah. And goal 50. Okay, that's a 5. Okay, great. So now we're going to look at asset production. So maybe, and they're looking to retire in 5 years. So we're going to put 5-year annuity. And maybe
you to put a 1 million or 100,000.
that's $1 million.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's what they have in assets. So a 5-year annuity, and we're gonna put let's say $50,000, $250,000 on it. 250K into it. And that will pay out over a period of 5 years. So we know that to get our target of $50,000, and Social Security will kick in year 10. So for a 5-year period, we know just by what we're putting into this annuity that we're going to hit that $50,000 goal. Okay. So now we're going to have a 10-year annuity. That has, let's say, $500,000 in it. And that is projected to be producing, let's say $30,000 or $40,000. 40K annually. And then maybe we'll have a 14-year annuity with the remaining 250K. So I have not actually pulled out these numbers and figured out exactly what their income is going to be from these assets, but this is something that I would do for each client. And in some cases, this won't be an annuity. It's just straight cash. We're going to hold that money. Like for somebody who's retiring, this year, we're not going to put that money into an annuity. We're going to put it somewhere that is guaranteed and accessible. And that's actually a tool that I use. I'm not making any money off of that, but that's actually a tool that I use to say, we're not trying to lock up all of your money. We want you to have money that's accessible. For actually several reasons. One, suitability. To get the other annuities passed, they need to have a certain amount of assets in cash to cover their bills. Secondly, to make the client comfortable with. You want to make sure that they feel comfortable that you're not trying to lock up everything and make all of it, make money off of everything. You want to make sure that they are comfortable to know that they can pay for things until certain things kick in. And also to just have that tiering. Sometimes you're going to get a better yield by, like, for example, the Denali. You can turn on income in year 2. After a 12-month cycle, you can turn on income. But that may or may not be in the client's best interest, because if you let that account grow for 5 years, it will have a higher balance for starters, but they're also older when they turn on income. So the percentage that they're removing from the account is also higher. So thank you, Howard, for pointing that out, because yes, this is something that I go through with a client. And when I'm putting together a presentation for a client, I'm not going to put it on a whiteboard. I'll put it in a spreadsheet so that they can see it in a nice, neat, organized fashion to show them in year 10, you will have this much income based off of these projections. And if there is a product that is guaranteed to have a certain amount of income, I will put that in a guaranteed column. Whereas if it is projected to have a certain amount of income, I will put that in a projected column. And again, I fudge the numbers a little bit. I always hedge on the side of rounding down when I'm showing this to clients, to show them, yeah, you've got some space, so that you're not, oh, you wanted $50,000. Well, we can get you like 49.5. No. I want to show them that they are comfortably at $50,000. Does that make sense? Good. Okay, so I can stop sharing this now. So yes, that is another thing that we do with consultancy, which is why it's important. But I mean, what about, how many of us have sat down with a student to explain to them the importance of being involved in the financial decisions surrounding their college education? Has anybody done that yet? Anybody? Is anybody interested in doing that?
Sure.
Let's start. Sure. Okay, great. So that is something that I will organize for a future training to go through that, because we've only got about 25 minutes left. But that is something that you have tools at your disposal that to explain to both parents and students about why it is in a student's best interest to partially pay for their own education. They graduate faster, they have higher GPAs, they're more likely to get hired. Things like they have they have an easier time transitioning to school if they have a job. In high school, they have about 75 hours a week of organized time, but in college, they've only got about 40 hours of organized time. So it's a complete flip from their high school experience. And these are things that you can go over with a client. So thinking about consultancy as opposed to agency, how many of us feel that there are a lot of young people who have $100,000 in student loans? Yes. And for some of our more higher, that's terrible English, our higher tier clients, it is going to be a conversation that we're going to have with parents, that if they have a contract with their student to graduate in 4 years and with a certain GPA, that the parents will pay for the student loans. And that is something that is feasible for some of our higher tier clients, but the student has to take on those student loans to start with. Actually, it gives parents more time to pay them off, which puts less of a financial stress on the parent immediately. So again, that is a whole separate training for a separate day. But, you know, for students who are graduating with that much student debt, they're crippled. They are crippled from the get-go. How many of us on this call have actually had student loans and paid them off? Anybody? Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Does anybody feel comfortable saying how much they had in student loans and how long it took them to pay them off? Okay, I mean, I'll share with you guys for anybody who does not have experience with student loans. So I graduated from college in 2010. I went to the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. I graduated with $25,000 in student loans, and it took me 6 years of putting 75% of my income into those student loans to pay them off. I was putting 75% of my income into my student loans for 6 years. So if people are doing that, how are they going to do things like pay for an apartment, buy a house, have kids if they decide to start early, pay for a wedding? They're not, right? They don't have the money. So for those of us who have clients who are in a higher income bracket, President Obama was still paying off loans and he was the president of the United States. Exactly, because President Obama went to law school. So that's expensive. So, you know, to be financially prepared, starting life in debt, and for students who go, you know, nobody is teaching our students how much student loans are going to cost them. Did anybody here take a class in high school that explained to them about finance? Anybody? No, right? So nobody learned in high school the difference between compound and simple interest. Nobody learned, you know, how the difference between subsidized loans and unsubsidized loans was going to affect their balance when they graduated. Nobody was told when they signed the note that they had the legal right to sell your loan to a third party and they could change the terms of it. Did anybody learn any of this? Did anybody even learn how to balance a checkbook in high school?
You?
You did?
No.
No, exactly. So none of us even learned how to balance a checkbook. So how many of us have these skills now?
Sure.
Yeah, we know how to balance a checkbook. We know the difference between compound interest and simple interest, and we know how student loans are affecting students. These are all saleable skills, guys. We are consultants, not agents. We have so much more to offer people, to offer clients, which is why it is important. So for those of us who are thinking, oh, I don't have that skill, she just listed off like 6 different skills and I don't know them all yet. Yeah, it's called the School of Hard Knocks. And most of us have been there. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I was baptized by fire in this industry. And I would like all of you to learn from the wisdom of my experience. Don't learn the hard way. Education is what you get when you read the fine print. Experience is what you get when you don't. Pete Seeger said that. So yeah, so for any of you who don't have all the skills that I've just listed off, please keep coming to the trainings. I do try to keep the trainings relevant. And if there is a concept that you would like me to train about that you are a little bit less versed in, please feel free to email me, let me know, and I will put together training specifically for whatever topic it is that you guys want to know about. But my goal is to get all of you to a point of consultancy as opposed to agency, because consultancy is where you can start charging for your time, that somebody is going to pay you $100 an hour to have you sit down and teach them something, to redo their budget, to advise them about college, to build them a plan. And, you know, you're going to give them the financial education that they need. And if you guys get to a point over time that they can actually, that they are ready to have a bank, that is where the big money comes from. But the quick sales come with a lot of strings attached, because the quick sales end up with chargebacks. You know, you end up with, I was talking to Kathy about it yesterday, that the final expense sales, when people are, you know, door knocking door to door, they don't necessarily know if it's going to be good business or bad business, because they're closing the sale in one day. And there are a lot of people who make their living that way. And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for final expense, because there's definitely a place for final expense. There's a lot of people who need it. But on the Life Plan 360 trainings, I really want you guys to wrap your head around being a financial consultant, because a consultant is where the big money is made. Does that make sense to people? Thank you, Timothy. Yes. So that is really, it is a mindset change. It is a mindset change. So we hear all the time to follow the ABCs, always be closing. And it's not about, I'm not saying that you shouldn't always be closing, but always be closing is a mindset of talking. Consultancy is a mindset of listening. So you should always be listening for people who need your help. Does that make sense? Okay. So, you know, for people who need your help is literally everybody, but it's a matter of where you start the conversation. Because if somebody is 25 years old, you're not going to talk to them about paying for their kids to go to college, because they're paying for themselves to have just graduated college. You know, you're going to talk to them about getting out of debt. You're going to talk to them about building a plan so that they can buy a house. You know, these sorts of things. Does anybody have any questions? I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking. Anybody?
Yes. In other words, you have to offer an education program instead in order to charge a fee as an insurance agent, I guess, under state laws or NAIC, right?
So not exactly. I mean, you can get paid for your time. In terms of federal law, there might be individual state laws that I am not aware of. I'm not licensed in every single state, so please be aware of your own state laws. But, you know, people can pay you for your time for really anything. But the reason people would pay you for your time, and for a while, you're going to be offering financial education for nothing. You have to build up a reputation for being worth paying a fee. But if you're offering services like budget review, like, you know, building plans to get people out of debt, building plans for, you know, financial independence, teaching people how to divorce the bank. Once people, you know, you're going to have a bit of time where you're offering those services for nothing. That's a fact. But once you get that reputation, once you get that following, people are going to start referring their friends, their relatives, their neighbors, etc. And you're going to get to a point where you can charge for your time to sit down and do those smaller things with clients. And eventually the clients should become independent and get to a point where they can and need a bank of their own. And you're going to teach them how to manage that as well. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does anyone know how to apply for student loan forgiveness? Off the top of my head, I don't. But send me an email, Andrew, and I will look it up. And that's something else I've said before, guys. Google is your friend, and that is part of being a consultant. I have actually sat down with clients that are not prepared at all to build a bank. They're not. They've got way too much debt. They have different goals. I had a client a couple weeks ago that really wants to buy a house, and quite frankly, they cannot afford it. And sometimes you have to be the bearer of bad news, but you also need to have a reputation as being a straight shooter. So I don't sugarcoat, I don't pussyfoot. It's right there. You know, there are certain things I actually said to this client, right now, what you need to be concentrating on is improving your debt to income ratio. Because if I was a bank right now, you're a bad risk. You have too much debt for your reportable income. I would not give you a loan for a home. So, but at the same time, I also provided them with resources, things like low income housing assistance, down payment assistance, first time home buyer assistance. It literally took me 10 minutes to Google these things and send them a whole bunch of links, and they can read through them. I gave them a cursory glance to make sure that they were relevant. But, you know, this is a client who was referred to me by someone else that I know. And, you know, if they can actually get themselves together, you know, in another year or two, because we put together a plan that they can get completely out of debt in 18 months. So if they actually do that, at that point, they will be in a mindset of I am a saver. I am a saver, not I am a spender. So in a year and a half, if they get themselves together and come back to me, they will be prepared to build a bank. So was it worth my time to Google it and give them those resources? You bet it was. You bet it was. And that is something that every single one of you can do. Google is your friend. Google has great resources that you can turn around and pass on to a client, and you look like a hero. Does that make sense to people?
Mm-hmm.
And it really didn't cost you much of anything to be able to provide that. So again, like, some of these things come from experience. You know, how did I know to Google first time home buyer programs in Massachusetts? Okay, I know that they live in Massachusetts. I know that they want to buy a home. I know that they've never owned a home before. So of all of those things, how do I could put it into Google, how do I help a first-time home buyer buy a home? And it'll bring up a whole bunch of things that you should know for your state. And in Massachusetts, there are down payment assistance programs. There are low income programs. And that could vary by city, county. Depending on where you live, it could change. You know, in Massachusetts, you know, if you make less than $100,000 as a family, you're low income. But in Iowa, that might be a lot of money. So was the initial debt elimination plan that you prepared for them a snowball plan prior to preparing a bank? Yes, it was. And something that I go over with clients, I'm going to share my screen. Share screen one. Let me just drag over my, can everybody see my calculator?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So the way I decide which debts I'm going to pay off first, I divide the monthly payment by the total debt. So if you've got one payment that's $100 a month and the total debt is $1,000 a month, and you have a payment that is $250 a month, but the total payment is $5,000 a month, which one am I going to pay off first? Any guesses?
200.
Why?
You see the immediate success, and now you can devote that money to paying off the next higher debt.
Okay, let's take a look at it. So we've got $100 payment and the debt is $1,000, right? So that's a 10% payment to debt ratio. And we said that the other payment was it 200 or 250? What did I say?
250.
Anybody? 250?
250.
Okay. And it was a $5,000 debt?
That's 50%.
That's a 5% debt payment to debt ratio.
Mm.
So when we're thinking about this, we have to think about purchasing cash flow. That's what we're doing. We are trying to buy back our cash flow to pay off other debts is really what we're doing. And that's what we're doing with building a bank as well. You know, when there are things that we cannot pay off all at once, you know, because they just don't have the assets to do it, we have to think about purchasing the cash flow for the least amount of capital. So we're going to divide the payment by the debt, and the highest percentage are the ones that pay off first, because it's the smallest investment for the most cash flow. So the $100 payment I would pay off first, because it costs us less out of pocket. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now that we have that, you know, it costs us $1,000, but we're getting $100 a month back. So now we have a $350 payment divided by $5,000. Now it's 7%. So we're going to start paying that $5,000 off a lot faster, without attacking our capital. And sometimes you're gonna come across people who have debts that they just don't have the capital to pay off. So if we know that they don't have the capital to pay it off, ignore it. Come back to it. Because it doesn't matter if it's the highest percentage, we can't pay it off. You know, if student loans are a big one. Oh, I need to get rid of my student loans. I need to get rid of my student loans. I need to get rid of my student loans. Okay, great. But your monthly payment is 2% of the total debt. Let's take a look at some of these smaller credit cards that you don't need to be using. Your Old Navy card, your Macy's card, your Jordan's Furniture card. You know, these are things that you don't need to be spending money on. Just pay them off. And now that you have that cash flow back, I've literally seen people come to me with credit cards that they're paying $50 a month on a debt that's $250. And they've got, you know, 10 grand sitting in a bank account. And I've had these people tell me that the reason they're not paying them off is because they had a problem with credit cards when they first graduated school, and they're trying to rebuild their credit. Okay, so common misnomer about credit cards is that you do not need to carry a rolling balance to build good credit. You need to use that card every month and pay it off. So the advice I always give my clients is, with your credit card, buy something that you are going to purchase anyway. When you go to the gas station, when you buy your weekly groceries, something that you're going to do anyway, that normally you use your debit card for, put it on your credit card. And immediately you get home from that errand, go on your app and pay it off immediately. Do not wait until the end of the day. Don't wait until the end of the week. Pay it off the minute you get home. You're building good credit because you have the money, you're using credit, but you're not getting charged interest fees because you've immediately paid it off. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like I've said that many times, so My apologies if I'm repeating myself. But yeah, so pay off those smaller credit cards. Redirect the cash flow. It's Parkinson's law number 2 that expenses will rise to match the available income. And idle dollars are the devil's playthings. Just like idle hands are the devil's playthings, idle dollars will find something else to do, whether or not it is achieving your financial goals. So you need to give them a new job, whether that is paying off a new debt or going toward your down payment fund. They need to be given a job. So we are 3 minutes to the top of the hour. Does anybody have any questions?
Just a comment.
Yep, go ahead.
I find oftentimes that people are buying stuff that they never use or never wear. As a member of a clutter support group from time to time, women will say, well, I found a dress I didn't even know I had, and it still has a tag on it. I've never worn it.
Yep.
So what would happen? And yet they're buying more. And so the first rule is go shopping in your closet. And the second rule is if I don't need it, if I think I need it, let me wait a week or so and see if I still need it. And then you'll cut down your expenses considerably, because that really is where a lot of money is going, or into the things that Rich Dad Kiyosaki calls doodads. And these are things that are depreciating assets, and all you're buying is depreciating assets that bring you no return.
Yep. And I mean, this is something that I've actually gone through in my own households. You know, my husband came from a background of, if I want it and I can afford it, I can buy it. Okay, great. So you've already got 25 video games. Do you really need another one? You know, how is that $40 that you're spending on that video game going to affect you next week? You know, is it better to pack your lunch, which is going to cost you $2 a day, or is it better to, you know, go to the cafeteria at work because it's convenient, which is going to cost you $10 to $15 a day? How is that going to affect our household long term? Add that up over a week, a month, a year. And how do you capture those dollars that are being freed up in the snowball plan so as to redirect to the bank before it's lost again? So that's a multi-tier question. So when we're recapturing those dollars, if they still have debt that we cannot get them out of right now, if they've paid off, say, a debt that gives them $100 of freed up cash flow because that's what they were spending, we're going to redirect that to the next debt that is paid off. I literally give my clients a list of their debts in order of preference to pay them off. So if you know how some people start paying an extra $50 a month toward this credit card and that credit card and this other credit card because they think they're paying off their debt faster, I recapture all of those extra dollars. So you're still paying the minimum payment on every single card, on every single debt, so you're not ruining your credit, and redirect those extra dollars to the number one priority to pay off. When that gets paid off, all of the extra dollars get redirected toward the next one to pay off. And once all of the debts are paid off, they've been living without this money for quite a while because it's been going to pay it off debts. Now they can start saving it. They've just defined what they can live with to build a bank with. And once they're completely out of debt, I'm going to put them on a plan for 6 months to a year to continue putting those same dollars into a bank account, because it's to everybody's best interest for them to be paying annually. And if they are paying annually, there's no chargeback. You're not getting a chargeback if they're paying annually. So there's less stress. And B, they get the added benefit of an annual premium. So their cash value grows slightly faster. So it's to everybody's best interest to get them to pay annually. Joe, does that answer your question on how I work that out?
Yes,
lot of it.
One other comment.
Yep, go ahead.
Money has an emotional side to it.
Oh, it does.
And one of the favorite books on my shelf that I recommend to others is called When Money is the Drug, because in many cases, people actually get a high after making a purchase. And When Money is the Drug addresses that and a number of other emotional money issues. And
that is a great conversation. I'll say one last thing, but we're at the top of the hour, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. That is you're going to end up being a handholder and a psychiatrist as a financial consultant, because you want to get people talking about their goals. Because if you can get them to a point where they get that same dopamine charge from seeing their bank balance grow and seeing their debts paid off, and see them that much closer to being able to afford, I don't know, a vacation or a new car, because their car, they're just, putting duct tape on it, quite literally. You want to get them to a point where they're getting that dopamine charge from seeing their bank balance increase. And a lot of it does come down to personal discipline. And there is only so much that we can do for handholding, but we can be there for handholding. But that's why I say that it's important for you to get paid for your time, which is consultancy, because somebody who's coming back and paying you $100 an hour every 2 months is serious about wanting to get out of debt and building a plan. Somebody who doesn't do their homework and isn't paying you money, and you're spending, an hour every week on the phone with them, they're never going to do it. You can't want it for them more than they want it for themselves. So, be respectful of your own time, as well. And with that, it is 3 past. So I want to be respectful of all of your time as well as my own. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I hope this was helpful for everybody, and definitely email me if you have questions, comments, concerns, clients that you need help with, or topics that you would like to see as future trainings. Does anybody have any? Feel free. I'm done speaking for the day, so if you need to jump off, feel free. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to hang out for a minute or so to answer those.
Yeah,
I think I heard Andrew.
Kendra, can you hear me?
Yes.
How are you? Great, you do an awesome job on the training. Very proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a client that calling me, and then she was saying like, "Oh, I saw your training," because I do every Saturday different topics on private banking and college funding and debt elimination, all kind of stuff. So, and then she said that she's interested into private banking, because to the client, they think that, oh, I have my own bank, basically. I'm gonna close all my Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, and all that stuff. And I said, no. Okay. So I basically, it came to the point that she said, okay, so how does that work? And then, I explained to her, about how that worked in a little bit. And then she said that, should I take because I have at least about 200,000 or 300,000 in equity, and it's just sitting there doing nothing. And I'm thinking of taking all that out to put in my private bank, use whatever I want, because every time I ask for their money, they ask me, see all the tax return, all that stuff to do refinance and blah, blah, blah. So, and I said, well, you can, but before that, you need to, fill out the form, the data, Lifeline 360, input, intake, data for me, so that way we can work together, find exactly what's best fit for you. Because right now she said that her mortgage is currently at 3%, which is pretty good, very low.
That is really good. Yeah.
Yep. And then she said refinance it gonna be, right now the interest is high, and right now it's about 5.8. Her credit is
Yep.
excellent. And then she asked about what about line of credit, because I told her, if even you take out 300,000, you're not gonna put them into your private bank right away. You got to put it on the side, the PDF and other stuff. But
Yeah. Yeah. So you said that she has other bank accounts.
yeah, she have Wells Fargo, bank account.
Ballpark how much she is consolidating for her lump sum.
No, she just putting, because she have a business, so everything she
Right.
put in, go into the business, and from that, go to the bank, Wells Fargo, and from there she, pay it out here, things. So, so basically she wants to build her own bank.
Right. But you
But
said that she's thinking about consolidating out some of those Wells Fargo accounts. And
oh,
so
no,
how
no,
much?
no, she doesn't. She just want to take out the refinance from the house.
Okay, so she's not pulling money from any of those other accounts.
Right. So I
Sounds tough.
I said I have to do all the calculation, because when you take the money out, of course, she said her payment right now is, I don't know, 2,000 a month.
Yeah.
For the mortgage. But if she refinance and cash out 300,000, then
What is the house
obviously,
worth?
she was saying like 800,000. So she's still, right now it's worth.
She doesn't have that much
800,000.
equity then.
No,
She has to keep
but she
20% in the
already,
house.
she have around 400,000 in equity. So she owe 400,000.
Okay.
So
Because
she
to
said
take
if
out
she take
the
it out,
equity,
yeah, then gonna be
does she have kids that
increasing the
she's sending
loan.
to college?
Nope.
No kids that she's sending to college.
She's no, they all grown. She's about 59, 60 years old.
Okay. Does she have any lump sum that she's starting her bank with that would come from anywhere other than the equity?
Nope. She actually, I'm doing, because she wanted to do the premium finance, because she make over 100,000. Do the premium finance thing. So, and then now she saw the, private banking. And I told her, on my seminar, I said, with anything else, you need to have your, your family bank, because that's a foundation of everything.
Right.
And then after that, if you know how to utilize your bank, you can, go get your premium finance, or you go get another house, or go flipping, or whatever you want,
So here's the thing about refinancing the house. Refinancing the house is going to change her budget, which is going to change how much money she can actually afford to put into her bank. However, paying on an annual premium is going to increase her cash value over time. Also, if she wants to build space to be able to put more money into it in the future, she might need a little bit of a bump. but without knowing every single dollar that she has everywhere and building the plan myself, my general rule of thumb is that because you get the software, right, Andrew?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So go into the scenarios tab
Mm-hmm.
and build it with a refinance and build it without a refinance and run the illustrations
Okay.
and
Right.
show her both pictures so that she can see this is how it's going to look. If you do this without the refinance, it's going to look like this. If you do this with the refinance, it's going to look like this. And that way, the two of you can have an informed conversation and make that decision based on the concrete numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Because, without knowing the whole picture, it's very difficult for me to give you advice on that.
Yeah.
But that's how I would approach a client like that. Is, should we do the refinance? Should we not do the refinance? Well, numbers don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
Math
Yeah,
doesn't.
so I'm waiting for her to send back the data form, and then I'll,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So run that down, and see how it all falls out.
Yeah.
And make sure that you account for the increased monthly payment, because I don't think the software does right now.
Okay. Yeah, for the if doing the refinance, then more
Right.
payment.
Right. So run it both ways. See which way is better. And if there's not a significant difference, there would have to be a significant benefit. Like, are you building space by doing the refinance where you might not be able to without doing the refinance? What is the likelihood that she's actually going to utilize that space? There are a lot of moving parts with that one. Once you get the actual numbers, the form from her, if you need more assistance, please feel free to reach out to me.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I will talk to her. Today, this week. All right.
So,
thank you.
Hopefully that's helpful.
All right.
So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I put my email in the chat. I'll put it in again. At iCanFinancial.com. Yep. Yep. And otherwise, have a great weekend. And I will see you all same time, same place next week. All right. Have a good week, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.